Now, Iran's supreme leader has reacted to Israel's assault on Lebanon and Hezbollah. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said since the Israeli enemy failed to win victory over resistance forces, they're killing innocent civilians and bombing hospitals, only to portray any form of victory. The Zionist enemy has already been defeated. It is true that they are targeting the resistance here and there and have killed some Hezbollah leaders. Yet such loss cannot bring Hezbollah to its knees. Hezbollah is much mightier and more powerful than they could ever even imagine. OK, well, his statement comes an hour after Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian addressed the UN General Assembly in New York. He too demanded that Israel end its aggression in Gaza and now Lebanon.
We should immediately stop the violence and bring about a permanent ceasefire in Gaza and bring an end to the barbarism of Israel in Lebanon before it engulfs the region and the world. Israel has been defeated in Gaza, and no amount of barbaric violence can restore its myth of invincibility. Naturally, blind Israeli state terrorism over the past few days in Lebanon, followed by massive aggression with thousands of victims, cannot go unanswered. The responsibility for all consequences will be borne by those governments who have thwarted all global efforts to end this horrific catastrophe and have the audacity to call themselves champions of human rights.
Let's take in all of these comments coming out of Iran and from Iran's leaders with Tohid Asadi, who joins us live from the Iranian capital, Tehran. A warm welcome to you. Welcome back. So a show of solidarity from Iran with Hezbollah, from Iran's supreme leader and the Prime Minister. Should we read this simply as that, a show of solidarity, or is this a warning from Tehran too?
Well, actually, it could be considered as a combination of these two. First of all, Iran tries to depict this message that Israelis are crossing so many red lines, and now there is a risk of a full-fledged all-out war scenario down the road, something that Iranians are not interested to get involved at all. But still, they have said that there is a sort of preparedness for any kind of scenario that takes place, including a full-fledged all-out war. What we saw here was a clear message of solidarity that the Iranian Supreme Leader, Sayyid Ali Khamenei, sent. And on that basis, we can say that since they are close allies, they're fighting for the same cause, which is the occupation of the Palestinian lands by the Israelis and the possibility of further occupations in Syria and Lebanon. Iran tries to clearly send this message that it is not going to be tolerated, but still he just focused on this organizational strengths of Hezbollah. He knows about the capabilities of this group, and he knows that at time being, they are capable to provide Israelis with tough responses. We have to wait for the next days and weeks, but still, Iran is not interested in war of attrition and getting into a extensive battlefield in the West Asia, knowing the fact that it runs the risk of further casualties on the ground. But with that said, I think we have to also consider that Israel is just a threat, a real threat beyond rhetoric for both Syria, Lebanon, Iran, and that is something that cements the ties between the resistance fronts.
Do these words of support, do you think, suggest any kind of further practical support in terms of arms, intelligence from Iran when it comes to Hezbollah? An organisation that we know has been hit hard, has had its nose blooded by recent operations by Israel, some of them very complex and complicated indeed, such as the targeting of pagers and walkie-talkies.
Well, a couple of points here. First, we know that Israelis are not fighting on their own. They're receiving extensive support from the West, including the United States, regardless of the fact that Washington administration tries to step back and say we're not supporting them. For that, I think Iran has got this incentive to support, in addition to the principle and the pillar in foreign policy to support the Palestinians. I think Iran is not going to leave Palestinians and Lebanese and Hezbollah in particular alone, considering this context. And also, there is this preemptive nature of actions, knowing the fact that if they allow Israelis to go further on, of course, we know that Palestinian lands is not the first stop, is not the last stop, and this trajectory of obnoxious behavior is going to be continued, so there is a risk of further threats directed against Iran. That's why we expect sort of extensive support. I'm not going to get into details, but we will expect a sort of extensive support, including a wide domain that Iran will provide and has already provided to Hezbollah. But still, let me put emphasis, at the time being, it comes from Iran that there is this sort of clear understanding about the capabilities of Hezbollah, and that's why we see the current situation on the ground. For the extensive scenarios, we have to wait.
We have to wait indeed. Tohid Asadi, alive in Tehran there. Many thanks.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.